Welcome into our third section of MAAC Mania Women's Wednesday. Storyline time. Let's start at the top with the Quinnipiac Bobcats. They beat Siena, then they lost at Fairfield. Both top-seeded teams lost their home matchup in the two of them facing off against each other. The Inter-Connecticut teams, 72-58 Quinnipiac on ESPNU in Fairfield when the Bobcats never trailed, and then 75-63 in Hamden on Valentine's Day, which snapped a 16-game win streak for Quinnipiac.
I just want to say this about this Quinnipiac team. Yes, they did lose to Fairfield, snapping their streak, but this team plays with so much toughness, and they have so much depth. Yeah. 6 players over 9 points per game.
They only run 7. Their traditional lineup only brings out 7 players, including Anna Foley, who on maybe with the exception of Fairfield, would be a clear starter on every single team in the MAAC. She's coming in off the bench.
Insane. And something that really highlights this Quinnipiac team is they are very physical. They're a very gritty team. They like to do stuff playing as hard as possible, and that's something that's really going to lead them in these next few weeks, and maybe even in a championship game against Fairfield. That grittiness, that depth that they have, anyone can go for 20 points a night, and that's what makes this Quinnipiac team so special.
You mentioned the Stags. They had 2 road victories, and not only was it 2 road victories, but you leave presumably Wednesday night to go down to Emmitsburg, Maryland to play Mount St. Mary's. You beat them. Then you come all the way back up to Quinnipiac, or to Connecticut, I should say, pass your own school in Fairfield to get to Hamden, and then you beat arguably the best team in the conference on the road. Great week for the Stags. We mentioned Lamro with her 30 points, one shy of that December 7th season high at Richmond, by the way. It wasn't even a home game at Mahoney Arena. Head coach Carly Thibault-Dunanis on her said, quote, "She carried us offensively today." Yeah, I mean, most certainly. She also said, and I like this quote, "You could see it in their faces that they weren't going to be denied today." The two, in all likelihood, will see each other again in the Atlantic City Championship. But it is the MAAC. Anything can happen. Upsets are always possible.
Upsets are always possible at any level of basketball. D3, D2, D1, men's, women's, anything, any conference, always viable. But something that I feel like about this Fairfield team, they don't just beat teams, they absolutely suffocate them. They just destroy down on these teams. Katie Lamro, 19 points per game. That's first in the MAAC. Guess who's third in the MAAC?
In points per game?
Yes.
I'm going to say Megan Anderson is second.
She's third.
She's third.
16.3 points per
second?
game. Let me fact check this really quickly. I do think it's Shiro from Siena.
Oh, it could be Francesca Shearer. I mean, yeah, I didn't think of her because she's injured now.
17 points per game.
Is she second?
She is second.
Okay, it is Francesca Shearer.
So
interesting.
That's kind of the crazy part about Fairfield. They have the first and third, maybe first and second best scorers in the MAAC on their team. But the whole team in general plays so good. Defensively, just everything all around. Such a great team.
How about Nellie Brown? Folks, Nellie Brown won MAAC Player of the Year just a couple of years back, and now she's not even really a major talking point of this Fairfield team. She's probably the 3rd best player on the team, and this is a player that won the conference's Player of the Year award. Truly spectacular what's going on in Fairfield.
Now, let me ask you a quick question.
Okay.
Come MAAC tournament, come a neutral site.
Okay.
You have Fairfield versus Quinnipiac. Who are you taking? Neutral site, neutral game, same amount of games played. Who are you taking?
I don't know this because it's not like both teams won at home. Both teams won on the road. So I guess it depends on like other circumstances.
Yeah.
Rest, fatigue, how much, I don't know, how well you've been eating. I don't know, honestly.
That simply might be the storyline of that game.
It's a good point that you bring up. I think both of these teams are really even.
Yeah. And that's the thing. They both won on the road, which really makes this so interesting. And both fan bases will probably travel the same amount, so it'll probably be a fully neutral site.
Another thing to look at is they're not going to have that extra off day. The MAAC is going to have an extra off day, but they give that Monday off day to men's basketball, so the women do have to play on Monday.
Yeah.
The official schedule was released. Unfortunately, they don't get ESPNU or ESPN2. The MAAC Women's Championship game will be on ESPN+. So hopefully you MAAC lovers out there already have your ESPN Plus subscription, including if you are a fan of the Merrimack Warriors, who took care of the Foxes in Poughkeepsie and then went back home to face the other team from the relative upstate New York area in Siena. And that was another victory. They solidified themselves, at least in my eyes, as the conference's third best team in the league, with a pretty large separation over the next closest squad. You want to argue Sacred Heart, Siena, Iona, whatever you want to argue. They're doing all this without Mia Fiore.
She was so good, but it's really just come into someone else's hands. It's Madison Roman. She is amazing at basketball, defensively, offensively. She can score so efficiently. But also something to look at about this Merrimack team, they do have 4 losses, but they're very quality losses. 2 to Quinnipiac, 1 to Fairfield, 1 to Iona. 3 very, very tough opponents. So when you look at that, you really don't see anything that scares you too much about this Merrimack team, and really is the team that has solidified themselves as the third best team in the MAAC. They have great players. They played a great, gritty comeback game against Marist, and really, this Merrimack team has been so special all year and really has a chance to do something special in the MAAC tournament.
Does the loss to Iona worry you at all?
I would say no, because they've been so dominant the rest of the year and they've played in other great games. Obviously, we've seen other top teams drop some games to some lower opponents, but Iona, very solid team. I really do like that Iona team as well. I think they have a chance. They have a lot of talent, not super consistent, but again, this Merrimack team, sometimes you have off-shooting nights. I think that's what it was against that Iona team.
Most likely. And I think it's crazy, too. Their men's team is the number 1 team in the conference at 14-2, and this is a squad that's coming from D2.
Insane.
Unlike Sacred Heart, who's coming from the NEC, they're coming from a Division II level. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And speaking of their fellow new inductee counterpart from last season, the Sacred Heart Pioneers, they only had 1 game this week, and it was that buzzer beater at St. Peter's. Due to Riders' loss on Thursday, the Pios officially clinched a postseason berth Thursday when they were on their bye. Does the close game against one of the bottom teams to likely make the playoffs concern you at all, or no?
Yes.
To put
it simply, yes, a little bit.
Okay.
Not too much, not super heavy. Obviously, they've played a great year. They only have 6 losses on the year. It does concern me a little bit coming late into the year. You kind of want to get those wins against those lower opponents. But I will say some stuff that really lifts me up about this Sacred Heart team. They got a great 1-2 punch in Wood and Dudley. They are averaging 14.2 points per game, 11.6 for Dudley. They're both bringing in about 6 rebounds per game. They're a great 1-2 punch for this team. Their guards look very elite, top-tier guards. They are capable of beating anyone, but also we've seen it. They are capable of losing to those lower opponents. They kind of play to their opponents' strengths, and that's something that does concern me a little bit. But again, I mentioned it before. I'm very high on the Sacred Heart team. I'm very high on both Sacred Heart teams. I do think they are a very good team. I just think they kind of got to dial it in and start playing the same way every game and not just play down to your opponents.
Jess Minetti might want a word with you. Let's move over to Siena. They lost at Quinnipiac and then at Merrimack. Why? I mean, yes, it's the competition. They're playing the best seeded team and the third best seeded team in the conference, but also that Francesca Shiro injury that, again, if you didn't tune into a prior segment, was an apparent left wrist injury in Thursday night's loss against Quinnipiac, limited to 22 minutes. Per the Quinnipiac Fairfield ESPN Plus broadcast, it was not confirmed, but it was said she will likely be out for the remainder of the season and the postseason. And then that was confirmed with a Siena women's basketball Instagram post today saying it is a left arm injury. She is done for the remainder of this season. 6-time MAAC Rookie of the Year, MAAC Player of the Week, and a Mid-Major Madness Player of the Week in her trophy case. On the positive, with Riders' loss, the Saints officially punched their ticket to the boardwalk, and that was on Valentine's Day. Or, excuse me, that was on Thursday.
Yes.
But how bad does the Shiro injury impact them?
So this is what I will say. Coming in before knowing about the injury, I was concerned about the Siena team.
Wow, okay, look at this.
The reason I was concerned, they are coming off a loss to Quinnipiac and Merrimack, which, yes, those are the top 3 teams.
This was when the injury was a factor.
Yes, and these are 2 of the top 3 teams in the MAAC. But the thing that raises the most red flags for me is when you look at their schedule, they really haven't beaten any of the top 5 teams in the MAAC.
Okay.
And going into a MAAC tournament, you kind of want to have one of those big wins under your belt. You want to have a confidence booster knowing you can beat those teams. They really don't have that, and that's something that's really concerning for this Siena team. Obviously, I do think they can steal a quarterfinal game in the MAAC tournament, but honestly, I don't know if they could get past that because they haven't beaten a top competitive opponent yet.
Interesting take here from JJ Garcia. I thought it would be the Shiro injury that derails your hopes for the Saints, but no. JJ is saying it was the competition, the Shiro injury doesn't impact his thought process.
A little bit, yes, now it does.
Well, and making it more, but I'm saying
Yes.
beforehand you weren't
Yes.
the biggest proponent on them.
No.
Were you a big proponent on Iona? They swept the Buffalo Schools at home in New Rock City, and the Valentine's Day victory over Niagara solidified their postseason bid, the last team thus far to have clinched their postseason berth.
Just about where they're sitting in the MAAC conference is where my confidence level is in them,
Okay.
right in the middle. They are very talented, a little inconsistent. They can hang with the top teams, but once it gets to a very close game, they seem to struggle a little bit. So that's something that kind of ticks me and hits me off on the wrong angle. But they do play very good, and they play when they want to play good, when they're in hot stretches, they play very good. So if they can win these next few games throughout the schedule, I think they'll have a lot of momentum going into the MAAC tournament, and they could do some damage. But again, they are very talented, a little inconsistent for my liking, but my confidence level in them is right around the middle of the pack.
Mount St. Mary's, one game. They lost to Fairfield. Nothing glaring. They basically just have to focus on a playoff clinching scenario. Again, win or a ride or loss. They're the only team that can clinch on Thursday. JJ, here's a team that really confuses me. So I'm going to ask you what you think of them. The Jaspers, who also swept the Buffalo Schools at home. What are you thinking about Manhattan?
They are a very momentum-based team.
Okay, I could see that.
That's the best way to put it. They can score in bunches. They could go on scoring droughts in bunches, and that's kind of something that I've seen a lot throughout the year. They started the season losing 12 games in a row.
They did. They lost all of their non-conference games and then opened up with a couple of MAC losses.
That concerned me a little bit at the start, but then you look at it, and they have gone on a few winning spurts. They've done good things the rest of the season. So, again, just like I said about that Iona team, if they can gain some momentum going into the tournament, I have really high hopes about them if they make it to the tournament, which most likely they will.
They should.
But, again, Davis, a great player for this Manhattan Jaspers team. They are, again, just like that Sacred Heart team, just like that Iona team. They are inconsistent. But if they get that momentum, if they get a few wins to end out the year, I think there's a very real chance they could do some damage in that MAAC tournament, but it all depends on how they do play these next few games.
JJ is saying that they're not a lock to make the postseason, but they probably should. We got 3 teams on the horizon in our next segment that are going to be battling for 2 playoff spots in all likelihood, so stay tuned for segment 4.